Thank you
Thank
for
you,
being
Pepe.
here.
Thank you. Thank you. Hola. Buenos dias. That's all the Spanish I know. Is that okay? Welcome to TecnoFor SAFe Day. I can't believe that I'm in Madrid. This is great. And look at this venue. This is amazing. Do you mind if I get a picture? Do you want to be in it? Let's do it this way. Yeah, all right. Welcome. Thank you for having me. This is amazing. I've been traveling around Europe for the last 5 or 6 weeks or so. I'm very tired. I've been visiting SAFe customers, SAFe partners, practitioners, leaders, prospective customers, everybody I can talk to, anybody I can talk to about what they're doing in their enterprises, what they're transforming, how they're transforming, what their challenges are, learning from them, doing a little bit of teaching, a little bit of coaching, but learning along the way. And this has been about 5.5 weeks of pure Gemba for me. So I'm very excited to have been in Europe and now in Madrid with you all. This is great. Something that I've learned along the way is that SAFe is really having an impact in many countries, in many languages, many enterprises of various sizes. It's really amazing the impact that SAFe is having on not only the communities, but our enterprises and our products and our industries as well. But the magic is not in SAFe, is it? It's not about the framework. It's not about the methodology. It's about the people behind the framework. It's about the people on the Agile release trains. It's about the people on the teams. So I've met a lot of people, and I've learned a lot about what they're doing with SAFe in very, very creative ways along their transformations. So today, I want to talk about something that doesn't get talked about very much, but it's one of the things that I've been learning in my Gemba activities over the past year. So not just the past 5 weeks, but the last year and a half, or 2 years of my research and my Gemba. Myself, along with other people at Scaled Agile, have been really trying to understand the dynamics of big enterprise transformations and what the real challenges are. So I've learned some things along the way, and I really want to share them with you. This happens. Sometimes we get stuck, yes? So I want to talk about what happens when we get stuck in our enterprise transformations and how we can get unstuck, and who are the people that we can help get unstuck, helping big leaders through big transformation challenges. I'm Marc Rix. I'm a SAFe fellow and a member of the framework team at Scaled Agile. So you can blame me for SAFe 6.0. I had a lot to do with that. And I myself am not a senior leader in a large enterprise running a big transformation, having all kinds of challenges, but I used to be. I started my SAFe journey as a LACE leader in a big financial services institution in the US. So I've been there. I was vice president of engineering, and I had an Agile background, and I had the ability and the opportunity to lead a transformation inside this company. So I experienced challenges along the way, but then I wanted to remove myself from those challenges because they were big and scary challenges. So I did that for a few years, and then I moved on. And in SAFe, where do you go if you want to escape big leadership challenges? In the framework, you go down to the essential level, right? You spend all of your time with teams. So that's where I've been for the last 6 or 7 years, really concentrating more on the engineering, the architecture aspects, DevOps, DevSecOps. This has been my world for the last 7 or 8 years, but recently I've had the opportunity to get back in touch with senior leaders because now I'm focused more on bridging IT and business and growing SAFe transformations and helping our customers and partners really expand SAFe and the Agile way of working throughout the enterprise. So this is my story. It's a little bit of a love story between me and what I've learned about senior leaders. But let's start here with a little bit of context. We all know this, right? Transformation is a journey. We've seen this before. This is the implementation roadmap. How many of you are implementing the implementation roadmap. You're somewhere along this implementation roadmap. Some of you are implementing this. How many of you have seen this before? Okay, so we've at least seen this. So transformation is a journey, right? We know that we just don't flip a switch and get a transformation. We don't just buy a transformation off the shelf. It takes time. So we know this, we understand this, whether we do ourselves or we're educating our customers and clients about the roadmap. This is one version of how we get there. Of course, it's not the only path to success, but it's a very popular one. And when we set out on this journey, this is what we expect. This is what we want. This is what we sign up for, right? We expect some twists and turns along the way, a little bit of a curvy road, maybe some bumps. But for the most part, we want it to look like this, and we expect rolling green pastures, maybe a rainbow at some point, maybe a couple unicorns, nice smelling flowers. We know it's going to be a journey, we know it's going to take some time, but we expect it to be fun and interesting along the way, right? We're going to learn some things, we're going to see new things, and we'll eventually get there, we'll ride off into the sunset, and it's just a matter of time before we get there. But the journey should be fun, and this is what we expect. It's what we sign up for. But sometimes this happens, right? I see some nods. Sometimes that bridge washes out. Sometimes that sinkhole opens up in the middle of the road out of nowhere. So these are some of the things that cause us to get stuck along that journey. And these are some of the things that I've seen in the field with my own eyes and my own experiences with the people that are running these transformations. Misaligned executives. Have you ever been in a situation where executives don't agree on the transformation strategy? Anybody? A little bit? Competing budgets. We don't have budgets aligned. There's legacy architecture. We'd love to adopt an agile way of working. We'd love to go faster. We'd love to do more products versus projects. We'd love to go faster, but our architecture doesn't support it. We have a disgruntled workforce, or maybe our workforce is being attracted to other companies, whatever it is. These are some of the things, some of the big gotchas that stand in the way of success for some big transformations. How easy do you think it is to move through these challenges, solve them, and patch those bumps in the road? We might feel this at the team level, right? We're on teams, on development teams, maybe we're a scrum master, maybe we're an RTE, maybe we're a product owner. We see these kinds of things getting in our way, and what do? We escalate. So we have a process for this in SAFe. We have a process for this in Agile. We do what we can do at our level to resolve differences, to move through challenges, but if we can't, we raise it up a level, right? If we can't solve a problem at a team level, we raise it up, maybe to the Agile release train level, and we get our RTE involved. Maybe we can't resolve it there. If we can't resolve it there, where do we escalate to? Maybe business owners. Now we start to get some cross-functional leadership teams involved in solving these problems. Well, what if the business owners can't resolve these issues? Where do we escalate to then? And where do we keep escalating? Escalating, up, for these big cross-functional enterprise-level challenges. Well, let's talk about that. When this happens, what are we going to do about it? Somebody needs to come to the rescue, right? Somebody needs to put the needs of the organization, the needs of the team, above themselves. Who are these superheroes who are going to fly in and save the day? We need these people to patch the roads and get us back onto that happy path where there are green pastures and sunshine and flowers and unicorns. The question is, where are these people? Who is going to come to the rescue? Well, when we escalate, who are we escalating to? These are some of the people with real titles that I've encountered in these transformations who are really struggling with these big challenges. When things get escalated, they land on these people. These are vice presidents of technology services, vice president of portfolio management, assistant vice presidents, chief of staff, global LACE leaders, directors of finance and accounting, digital strategy, senior directors, enterprise agile coaches. These are elevated titles. These are people with big jobs, a lot of times big paychecks, big responsibilities for big outcomes that we need to come in and save the day. But where are they in SAFe? Can we point to these people? We can point to product owners, we can point to RTEs, we can point to system architects, we can point to solution architects. In my experience, these people listed on the left are traditionally not those people. Maybe they're business owners, maybe one or two of these are business owners, but a lot of times these people are not business owners. Or our business owners may have partners and peers with these kinds of titles. So in SAFe, these people are kind of everywhere and nowhere all at once. They're not explicitly in the framework. We don't see them by title. We don't see them by role. But we know they're there, don't we? We know that they're in the white space somewhere. So how are they going to come in and save the day when we need them the most? They may not be in SAFe, but we know that they're in the enterprise. And sometimes they're in very explicit places in the enterprise. You know, in SAFe, we have this dual operating system model, where on the left, we run SAFe, we adopt an agile way of working, we develop these networks that are very fast, very agile, very responsive, but we also need to balance this speed and efficiency and agility with a stable base. That's the hierarchy on the right. A lot of times these people come from that hierarchy, don't they? These are senior leaders in HR, maybe compliance, maybe marketing, maybe recruiting. A lot of times these people need to get involved in solving these big challenges so that we can move forward with SAFe and move forward with the agile transformation. How many of you are implementing or interested in implementing lean portfolio management or doing portfolio level SAFe or a portfolio level transformation? Right? Are the portfolio level leaders that you're trying to get involved in the transformation all in IT or all in technical roles? Yeah? Some yes? Some no. Many times no. So a lot of times these senior leaders cross organizational boundaries. They cross functions. We need superheroes from IT and from finance and from accounting and from marketing and from HR and from legal and from compliance working together to solve these big challenges. So sometimes they'll exist on the left in the network. A lot of times they exist on the right in the hierarchy. So we need them to be working together to solve these big challenges. So we know that they're in the enterprise. And they have a big job to do because we keep escalating these big issues to them. And if they're stuck, we're stuck. So what have I done about this? Myself and some of my colleagues have been spending a lot of time with senior leaders and big enterprises, working through some major challenges in their transformations. And along the way, we've had a lot of empathy interviews. And I've really become a fan of empathy interviews. They can really tell you a lot about the personalities that you're working with, the why behind what drives people, and what drives people. Does anybody here use empathy interviews? Do you do this on a regular basis? Some people, yes. Some, no. It's a hugely powerful tool. It really allows you to get to know people, get to know what drives them, get to know their wants, their needs, their pains, their gains, what do they desire. It helps you understand what their goals are, really who you're empathizing with. What are their roles? What are their motivations? What are their goals? Who are they accountable to? This drives their behavior. What do they do? What do they see? What do they say? What do they experience in the environment around them that influences their behavior? It's a really great tool to really get to know senior level leaders, stakeholders, your customers, each other. Whenever you really want to understand the personalities behind behavior, empathy maps are a great tool. So We've been interviewing a lot of these senior leaders across the organization, not just IT, but other business functions as well. And we've learned a lot. And what you're seeing here is a condensed view of what we've learned about those senior leaders. So we've learned a lot about what they do, what they see, what they say, what their pains are, what their challenges are, where they'd like to see gains, where they need to see benefits, where they need to show benefits to their senior stakeholders. So we've learned a lot. And the bottom line is, we've learned that these senior leaders are people too. They are very, very human. And in my time away from senior leadership, in my time in the trenches with the teams and the arts, doing engineering, doing architecture, doing DevOps, doing DevSecOps, I've been removed from these senior leaders. And for a while, I thought that they were part of the problem. We know that we need senior leadership buy-in. We know that we need their support. We know that cultural resistance can be an issue with these people. So I distanced myself from these leaders, thinking, well, they're part of the problem. I'm going to be part of the solution down here with the teams who are doing the real work, right? But I've changed my thinking after talking to these people. Now, I really understand that they're people too. They have challenges. They have needs. They have struggles. They don't always have the answers. They're trying to do a job, a very difficult job, and sometimes they don't know how to do that. So they need help. It's not easy to be that superhero. So here for the next few slides, I'm going to go through some of the highlights of that empathy map, giving some of my major lessons learned about these senior leaders. So this is what I've learned about these personality types. What do they want? This comes from the empathy map. This is one of the quadrants in the empathy map. What do these people want? Well, they want this. This is a direct quote from one of those senior leaders. I would like twice the value at half the cost. That would be exciting. Yes, sign me up for that. As a senior leader, as a vice president, as a senior vice president, maybe as a CTO or a CIO, even a chief marketing officer, maybe even a board member, right? This is a big promise. And a lot of times, this promise is there with a safe transformation or agile transformation. So yes, if we do this, there will be big benefits in the form of twice the value at half the cost. We will be able to run faster than the competition. We will have higher productivity. We'll have higher efficiency. We'll be able to go to market quicker, right? Whatever it is, there are big business benefits attached to the transformation, right? Have you seen this with your senior leaders? The ones who sign up because they really want the big benefits that are business benefits. It's not just about pushing features faster to market. It's not just about getting engineering done faster, but it's really about getting product to market so that we can capitalize on a big market opportunity, right? So maybe it's profitability. We want to be more profitable. We want to make more money. We want to drive more revenue. We want to penetrate new markets. A lot of times, we're very business-driven and market-driven at this level. But we can also be very operational driven, right? We want to reduce costs. We want efficiency. We want productivity. Twice the value at half the cost. Whatever value means to these senior leaders, they really want a new value proposition to come from this transformation. That would be very exciting. There's a photo of a jellyfish on this slide because by many scientific accounts, the jellyfish is considered the most efficient animal on planet Earth. So these senior leaders, in a lot of ways, want to be the jellyfish of their organizations. They want to be seen as the ones who usher in a new era of productivity and efficiency and value for the enterprise. This is what drives them. So what do they want? They want twice the value at half the cost. That would be very exciting. So let's go get that. What do they hear when they're stuck? What do they hear from their bosses? What do they hear from their peers? What do they hear from the market? What do they hear from their consultants? Well, a lot of times we hear them say this. We say, somebody told us to go get a book and read it. All of the answers are in that book. So then we ask back, what book? What is this magic book that has all of the answers that you need to go get and read? And they said, well, they didn't tell us that. We just know that there's a book that we should go read. But it turns out it's not just a book. It's maybe 5 books, maybe 10 books, maybe 20 books, maybe all of the books, but they don't know exactly which books to read. They've just been told to go figure it out. Many times this is from their bosses. Their boss could be the CIO, the CTO, the CEO, a board member. Maybe their customers or consultants tell them this. Just go figure it out. That's why we hired you. That's why you're in the position you're in. You're very good at figuring these things out, so go figure it out. I'm sure there's a book out there somewhere. So they hear this and they go looking for answers, and it's very hard for them to find. It's not just about reading a book, it's about reading a piece of a book, the right book, and then reading the right piece of another book, and piecing these parts together into some strategy, into some set of answers that will help them get unstuck. And that can be very tiring. So that's what they hear. Go figure it out. That's your job. That's why we hired you. And that can be very, very exhausting. What do they say? We hear them say this a lot. This is also a direct quote. Just give me a silver bullet. I want this problem to go away. Can't we just get to the end state of the transformation? Isn't there a magic wand that we can wave? Isn't there an easy button that we can push? Just make the pain go away. Isn't there something I can buy? I'm in control of a 100 million euro budget. I have a lot of power. I have a lot of money. Can't I just buy something to make this problem go away and get me to that sunshine at the end of the rainbow? Well, it's not that easy, is it? We know that the transformation is a journey, but this is really what they want. And we hear them say this. Isn't there a silver bullet? Isn't there an easy way? Isn't there a short path that I can take? This is what they want. Wouldn't it be great if we could just wave a magic wand and be done? Meanwhile, what are they seeing around them in their environment while they're having these challenges? Maybe they're stuck on big portfolio issues. Maybe they're stuck with cultural resistance. Maybe they're stuck with supplier issues. Maybe they're stuck with a pandemic. That would never happen. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to read books. They have this big promise of higher value, but they're feeling a big weight on their shoulders at this point. And so they need the people around them to help them out. They really need to lean on their teams, their directs, and their directs, and their organization to work through this. But meanwhile, they're seeing that their top talent is leaving. And in many cases, they're leaving very fast. Are any of you experiencing this in your companies? A lot of you really top talent is walking out the door. They're being attracted by other companies. So it's very hard to attract new talent. It's very hard to retain existing talent. It's a very competitive environment. And so what we're hearing from these senior leaders is that many of their people are leaving, and not just leaving one at a time, they're leaving in herds. If one leaves, two will leave, and if two leave, four will leave, and if four leave, 8 will leave. And suddenly there's a mass exodus. They're seeing their top talent leaving, and it's making them very, very nervous. Suddenly they have all of these problems. They're very stuck in their transformations. They don't know what to do because they're trying to find the right magic book to read. They're trying to find the easy button to push, and meanwhile they're seeing all of their people leaving them. Now they're feeling alone through all of this chaos. When they're feeling alone, what do they do in this situation? Well, we hear them say this. This is also a direct quote. Well, now we put up walls. We put up fences. We can't seem to collaborate. Why do they do this? Well, what we've learned is that these senior leaders are now getting very protective of their organizations. They're starting to get very defensive. They're starting to see their organizations put at risk. They know that they've signed up for this big transformation. There's a lot of work to do, but they're stuck. They don't know how to get unstuck. They can't read the right books. They're seeing their people leave, and suddenly they're left feeling like they're at a major disadvantage, and maybe they can't dig themselves out of these holes. Now they slip into protection mode. I need to protect my revenue stream. I need to protect my cost structure. I need to protect what's left of my organization. I need to protect my people, the people I have left. So then they get back into their silos, they put up walls, and they focus directly on their part of the organization. Which is the wrong thing to do, right? In this kind of a situation, these senior leaders really need to lean on each other. Because if they're shutting each other out, they're doing their organizations a disservice. So at this point, they're really doing the opposite of what they need to be doing. Okay, so how can we help? Why should we help? Isn't it their problem? After all, they were hired to do this. They have the big titles. They have the big paychecks. They get the big bonuses. They should be able to figure this out, shouldn't they? Well, they're people too. They're human. They struggle. They don't have all of the answers. We have a lot to give. Their success is our success, isn't it? If we're in the same organization as these people, they're trying to lead the transformation, they have a big job to do. They're trying to lead us through the organization, through turbulent times. We need their help. We need them, they need us. So what can we do to help them through these challenges? There's a lot that we know as SAFe practitioners, as agilists, because we live and breathe this every day, right? Many of us have been doing SAFe and Agile for many years. We just have this mindset. It's in our DNA. For a lot of these senior leaders, it's not in their DNA, so they need to be coached. They need to be helped. This is a great place to start. So it's really a flow issue. And for these senior leaders, when they're stuck, when the transformation is stuck, they're not seeing the results. It doesn't mean that product isn't flowing. It means that the business isn't flowing. So how can we get the business on track? How can we get the division on track? How can we get the line of business on track? How can we get the revenue stream, the value stream, the operational value stream on track? It's a flow issue, but for them, it's a matter of business flow. How can we drive those business benefits and get this on track and get unstuck? What we're seeing here is an image from SAFe 6.0. This is the 8 properties of a flow-based system. I won't go into detail about these here, but you can read about them on scaledagilephragmwork.com. And the message here is that here in this picture, these senior leaders are the workers. They're the workers in the system trying to lead us through transformational change. So they need to be helped. And all around them, there could be feedback challenges and work in process challenges, big batches, clunky handoffs, legacy policies getting in the way. So they need to be helped through this system to help get business flowing again. Well, we can help. And if there's one thing that I've learned that is as close to a magic bullet, as close to a magic wand or an easy button as I can find, it's this. If we can give these senior leaders the gift of time in the zone, things can be better. What do I mean by time in the zone? So here, time in the zone is described as an engaged mental state of extreme focus. We've felt this before. When we're in the zone, we're in the moment, we're doing the work, and time passes very quickly, right? We're highly productive, we're doing what we love, and it seems like we're just really cranking through work. These senior leaders need to be able to experience this too, but what gets in the way of that? Have you ever seen a vice president's calendar in your organization? What does their schedule look like? What does their diary look like? Have you ever seen these? They might look a lot like yours, right? Triple booked, quadruple booked. There's no time for anything but firefighting, answering phone calls, going to meetings. So they're kept away from time and zone with all of the other noise that happens of the day. So they don't really have the time to focus on these big issues. We need to give them time. They need to have time, not only with themselves, but with their peers to work through these big issues. So they need time in zone, but remember that time in zone does not mean time alone. They need to be able to focus, but they need to be able to focus as a team with their peers to get unstuck and work through these challenges. So here's one way that we've been able to do that. We've been experimenting with these senior leaders. This is a group of real senior leaders at a real company who were working through some big challenges. And one of the things we did to give them time and zone was to give them a 2-day workshop. We invited these senior leaders in across many functions. So there were technology leaders and business leaders there in the same space, in the same venue. And we gave them time and facilitation and a reason to get together, to plan and prioritize and solve and commit together as a team. And you know what? They did it. First of all, they showed up for an entire 2 days. How many of you think that that would be unbelievable? To get a team of 8 or 10 senior leaders from across functions, these are vice president level people, into a dedicated workshop for 2 full days without distractions together. We thought it would be impossible too, until we invited them. And that's all we had to do. We just invited them. We said, we're going to do this. We're going to carve out space for you. We're going to solve these major challenges. They're going to be your topics. You're going to do the deep dives. We're going to facilitate. But you, as a cross-functional leadership team, are going to come up with the answers, and you're going to develop a cohesive leadership team yourselves and develop a plan for going forward. All we did was provide the space and the facilitation. They did all the work. So we gave them that time and zone. They worked through the challenges. This was part of their reaction. Have you ever seen senior leaders in your company act like this? Jumping around with smiles on their faces, with balloons? We got them to this level just by giving them time and space to work together. And here are some of the reactions directly from some of these people. So we've been experimenting with this workshop. This was one of the very early prototypes. We've been starting to run this more and more often with more and more customers, not only in the European Union, but in the APAC region and the US region as well. So we're continuing to experiment with this concept. It's not quite an offering yet through SAFe, but we're experimenting with the format, and we're very excited about how it's going, because we do get big results like this, and it does help leaders get unstuck. So this isn't rocket science, but it does require some magic. There are some magic ingredients that need to be in there. So you need to have the senior leaders and the influences in there. You need to have the right people in. You need to really have the decision makers and the people who are accountable for getting the organization unstuck. They can't delegate to their direct reports. They can't delegate to another team. We have to have the people who are accountable for the results in these sessions. They can't give it away to anybody else in the organization. They need to bring their topics in, their real challenges. So this isn't something that can be necessarily canned or premeditated or delivered off the shelf. Sure, there's some topics, there are some challenges that are pretty common among them. They're usually portfolio challenges, they're usually communications and organizational change management issues, but they need to be able to bring in their particular issues too, because these challenges, these conditions that get organizations stuck are usually very cultural and very context-specific. These are things that only happen in their organizations and can only be solved by them in their context. That last one is particularly interesting. So this is something that we tried, and it had a really, really big result. Do any of you do appreciations at your events, PI planning or big room planning or any of your other events? This is where people give appreciation to other people just for doing great work. It could be anything. Hey, thank you, Susan, for helping me out yesterday. It really made a big difference. It helped me to get unstuck, and now I'm back on track. Thank you very much. Just little appreciations like that in the setting can go a long way. So seeing a group of very senior people from across different functions who are usually fighting about budgets and fighting about strategy and fighting about goals, talking about each other in this way as humans, appreciating each other, can be very, very powerful. So that's what we did, but that's not the only way that we can help leaders get unstuck. In SAFe, we also have these other patterns to consider. So think about using this pattern to help form agile executive teams, that's in this workshop. It's one of the desired outcomes. It would be great if these senior leaders could come out of this workshop as an executive team. Actually having formed an agile team with a scrum master and team coach and a product owner with a backlog, wouldn't that be great? These executives are now working together as a team from a backlog. So that's one pattern to consider that is becoming more and more popular, and when senior leaders can operate this way, the transformation can go a lot faster, a lot more successfully. Also consider these practices. So the workshop is just a starting point, or giving them that time and space, that time and zone is just a starting point, but the practices that they apply day to day matter as well. So a lot of these practices that we define as part of the business owner responsibility and the epic owner responsibility are things that these senior leaders do as part of their normal day job anyway. So they do need to lead by example, right? Sometimes they do guide portfolio epics, sometimes they do own epics. They do need to align practices and NPI planning. They do need to realize the business outcomes. So we do have these practices and responsibilities defined in SAFe. Sometimes it's a matter of making these more visible to the senior leaders and either giving them the articles to read or helping and coaching them through how to develop these skills, develop these responsibilities. And also consider this: a system must be managed. So the system isn't going to change itself, right? We need to recognize that these senior leaders, even though they're stuck, can't just run and hide. The system is not going to change itself. A lot of times, we, the teams, the arts, the solution trains, even the portfolios, maybe even the business owners, can't solve these big systemic enterprise-level challenges by ourselves. It's why we escalate. It's why we need their help. So they can't run away and leave somebody else to do the job. They need to come, they need to commit, they need to step up to the task and manage the system, because people are counting on them, right? We're all counting on them to lead the transformation, to bring back the sunshine, to patch those holes in the road and make that journey safe and successful. So that's my story about senior leadership and how to get leaders unstuck so that we can get back on track with our big enterprise transformations. It's just a little bit of what I've learned over the course of the last year and a half or 2 years with my research and my Gemba, and getting back in touch with the senior leaders that I'd been trying to escape for many years. But now I have a much better appreciation for the job that these people do, and the responsibilities they have, and the fact that they're human too, they need help. A lot of what we do on a daily basis as Agilists can help them out. So they need our coaching, they need our help, and if we can give them that time and that space, they will shine, they will step up, they will be the superheroes we need them to be to get our transformations on track. So there's a lot more to come from Scaled Agile on this front. This is what we have at the moment. Feel free to reach out to me at any time at marc@scaledagile.com, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I've already made at least one connection here today, so thanks for that. Let's keep in touch on the issue, and let's learn together. So thanks a lot. That's my time. I think we might have a few minutes for Q&A before we move on. Is that right, Pepe?
Okay. Okay, so maybe there are some questions in this Slido. Can you please show that?
What questions do you have? Yes, sir.
Yes, first of all, thank you for your presentation. Great. How do you start a conversation with the senior leaders?
How do you start? How do you start? It depends on the issue. It depends on the leader. But I'd say the first place to start is to recognize the need. So there's something stuck with the transformation, something is not going as planned, we're not getting result, or we're not moving forward. The first sign of trouble is these escalations, right? Maybe a team is noticing that they're not able to move forward because there's a blocker in the system. Maybe they don't have funding to move forward, or they don't have something that's prioritized properly, or they're getting conflicting priorities, or maybe they're getting questions and requests directly from senior leaders rather than through the backlog and through the normal channel. So whatever it is, there's some problem, a systemic problem that's being escalated to them, right? So that's the first sign of trouble. The next sign is to go identify the people who are responsible for solving those challenges and then have an empathy interview with them. So I'd say the first step always is to identify the people who are affected by whatever's going on and then talk to them, open up a conversation. And sometimes this requires a little bit of bravery and assertiveness, but try to get on their calendars even for a 15-minute interview, but just get them into a setting where you can be face-to-face with them, and face-to-face is always better than over Zoom or virtually, right? But have an empathy interview with them and just sit and listen. Ask some leading questions, but do a lot of listening to really understand what their challenges are, and then go from there.
Okay. You can actually read the questions.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, those are the questions. So they are in English. Feel free to answer them.
Love that first one. How do you get the senior executives to open up and show vulnerability?
Hemos perdido, a ver, por favor. Hemos perdido el slide.
How do you get senior leaders to open up and show vulnerability using empathy maps? Well, it starts with the empathy maps, and it's a lot easier for them to open up and show vulnerability in a one-on-one setting, just a one-on-one conversation with a coach, with a mentor, with a consultant, with a client. So wherever there is trust between two people, say a coach and a senior executive, start there. Start to build that trust. Start to listen. It really starts with listening rather than coaching or consulting. So I found that to be a first step toward allowing them to open up. But then opening up in a group setting is a slightly different story. It's a little bit harder to get the senior executives to open up and be vulnerable in that group setting. That's where you need good facilitation skills. So if you hold a workshop similar to the one that I showed you, then make sure that you have the people who know how to facilitate this kind of workshop with these people, because you need to be empathizing with them along the way. You need to be picking up on cues and pivoting and adapting to their needs and the dynamic of the group, and helping to steer the conversations toward productive directions. But I will say it's less effort than it may seem to be, because these people want to collaborate, they want to get along with each other, they want to align, they want to establish a shared purpose, and they want to be heard, they want to get their issues out on the table, and they want to collaborate and work through the issues. So it takes a little bit of work, but really it's just a matter of giving them the space and the opportunity to be vulnerable. What did you tell senior leaders to have them working together for 2 days? Yeah, what did we tell them? How did we trick them into coming to a 2-day workshop and ignore everything else? No, really. So that was really a magic moment where the first time we did this, we offered to put two leadership teams from 2 different companies together. So there was one company that was struggling because they were earlier on in their transformation. They really wanted to learn from another company who had been there and done that. So, we can tell them all of our stories, but of course, we're the provider, we're the vendor. They'd rather hear from another customer who had been there and done that. So we put them in touch with another customer who was a little bit further along in their transformation. Then we facilitated that session. So as soon as we told them that we were going to put them in touch with these other people who were their peers, vice president over here, vice president over here, senior director over here, senior director over here, to have a conversation. And we were going to devote 2 days to having this conversation so that they could learn from each other. They signed up. And to our astonishment, when we offered this, 6 people signed up initially, but then we ended up having 26 people in the actual workshop. So word spread, and they brought more and more people in. How do you select the members to invite? They kind of select themselves. So the empathy interviews really help to identify the people who are having the really big struggles, the really big challenges, and in that process, you're essentially qualifying people, right? Who are the people who really need to be in the workshop? So as coaches, as consultants, as members of the transformation yourselves, maybe as change agents, SPCs, RTEs, you're holding these interviews trying to identify the people who really need to be in that workshop. Maybe they're the people who are ultimately accountable, but maybe they're also other leaders in the organization. These could be engineers, they could be product owners, they could be product managers with a lot of influence. So invite them in when it makes sense as well. So you're helping to build the team, build the dynamic where the right conversations can happen in real time. So a lot of this is your own magic as the facilitators, but then also really align the people to the problem that needs to be solved.
2 more minutes, Mark.
Okay. Let's see, what's the main impediment you found to promote collaboration among senior leaders? The main impediment is talking about Agile, making it about Agile. We didn't hold the workshop and say, you're going to come out of this workshop being more Agile or more safe, per se. We left Agile out of the conversation, and we just focused on the problems that they needed to solve. They know that there's an Agile transformation going on. They know that they need to get the organization unstuck so that they can realize an enterprise transformation or a digital transformation. Whatever it is at a business level, that's what they care about. So we took the Agile language off the table, and usually the very, very senior level executives appreciate this. So we made it more about their language in their context, and a lot of times this meant just talking about principles over practices. So we could get them to agree on principles when we couldn't get them to agree on specific practices. Because at the practice level, we might have an executive who wants to do Spotify or Silicon Valley Product Group or Unfix and SAFe. And so they'd be fighting about the methods at this level and creating a lot of disagreement and friction. But if we changed the conversation and came at it from a principles perspective and talk about the business outcomes that they want, well, who wouldn't want an additional 100 million in revenue from this line of business? Who wouldn't want cost reduction? Who wouldn't want more alignment across the functions? Who wouldn't want more organizational change management and better communication? And who wouldn't want higher employee satisfaction and employee engagement or customer engagement? So we approached it in terms of the real benefits that they could agree on and they wanted, and then we allowed them to pick and choose the practices and the techniques that really worked for them to get unstuck.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much. There's not much time left, so Mark will be around here. You can still keep on asking him. So it's been a pleasure to have you on the stage. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, everybody.